everyone. We are now live. There are a few of us already here. It's great to see you guys. Let's see, we have Josh. Oh, hi, Raul. Yeah, it's great to see you. Also, Samuel, welcome. So I'm going to go ahead and actually dive in, and other people that have registered can obviously join us. We will be recording this, and it will be available. We'll send you a replay in the follow-up email tomorrow. And then in addition to that, we'll also have it on the Softr website, so you guys can always view any of our previous recordings there. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started. First of all, I would love for you guys to say hello in the chat. Hi. Oh, looks like some of you have already started chatting. That's great. So feel free to drop an emoji. I actually forgot to make a poll. I was going to make a little poll, but I am just curious to know kind of your level of experience with Softr. If some of you are brand new or a customer, or if you're somewhere in between, and same with Documint, just let us know. But this is going to be a nice and well-rounded presentation. Matt has kind of two use cases. One is going to be a little bit more simple for those of us that are just getting started with Documint and Softr, and one's going to be a little bit more advanced. So really excited. I'm Lizzie, by the way, community lead for Softr, and I'm excited to introduce you guys to Matt. So this is going to be our presentation. Obviously, we are going to show you how you can easily create documents with like one click via Softr and Documint. So very briefly, I'm not going to go super in depth into Softr as a tool, but if some of you are quite beginners to Softr, essentially what we do is we allow you to build custom applications and internal tools using Airtable and Google Sheets, which is in beta. It'll be available to the public by the end of the year. And it's kind of our is that it's block by block and without code. So it's quite set up in Softr and fully functioning app for your business or anything like that. So what's great about Softr is we have a lot of integrations. Documint is one of our integrations. So what Documint does is it empowers businesses and individuals to automate everyday tasks with document generation. So what does this look like in real time? Forms, contracts, proposals, reports, quotes, invoices, all of those things that you might typically be using several different SaaS applications for, you can actually just use it. You can do it all with Softr and Documint. So I am going to introduce you guys to Matt Bourn. He is the founder of Documint. He's also a Softr certified expert, which I think is pretty cool. And within this tutorial today, this walkthrough, Matt's going to give you guys a brief overview of Documint, and then we're going to go through one case study, which is going to be, or use case, which is going to show you how to kind of do a simple download. And this use case could be potentially if you want to give an employee a certificate for completing some sort of training, or really any type of PDF or document. And then the second case is going to go a little bit more in depth into how you can create invoices with line items directly within Softr and Documint. So if you guys have questions along the way, please put them in the chat, or there is a question box as well, a Q&A box. I will be moderating. I will be trying to answer questions if I know the answer to them in the chat. If not, I will either interrupt Matt during the presentation, or we will wait till the end and get your questions answered. Okay, perfect. So without further ado, enough of me. I would love to hand it over to Matt. So Matt, why don't you go ahead and jump in, introduce yourself. I will remove the slides now and we can get started.
Sure, of course. Well, thanks so much for the introduction, Lizzie, and the chance to come on and share a little bit about Documint and how we can get it to work beautifully with your Softr portal. Apologies in advance. I've had a bit of a cold, so my voice might be a bit weird, but it's much better than it was this morning. So that's something. So yeah, I'm with the Documint team. I look after customer success and some of our partnerships. So like with you guys on the portal side, and some of our consultant partners who are helping build solutions for their clients. So some of you might recognize my voice from some of the Documint videos if you've got that far yet. A different voice from today's, of course. But we'll be covering a couple of use cases. One a little bit more simple, just to kind of get you started and show you how the designer works, and then one slightly more advanced but a very common use case that people use Document for. So I think we have a couple of the Document team joining us today, so that's very nice. Bit of moral support there, and I guess we'll jump in if that's okay, Lizzie. Yep, great. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. Please just let me know when you can see that. Looks good. You can see?
Yep, we got it. Perfect.
Okay, great. All right. So we're going to obviously be using Documint, Airtable, and Softr today. I'm just going to make Documint the big one for now, and show you sort of Documint how it works, a little bit about the designer and what you can do, and just a quick mock-up of a certificate that we can use in our example. So this is where all of your templates would be. We have a few templates to get you started, of course. Very common use cases: invoices, product brochures, contracts, agreements. We're going to use the certificate today. You're also able to manage your assets from here, as well as your API keys and so on and so forth. So I won't hop into these just now, but just know that you can. This is like your control tower for Documint. So I've got a Softr invoice here that I've prepared, but today we're going to just get started with one of our templates. So all we need to do is click on our template, and that will load it up. And now we can start making adjustments to this. So I'll take you through some of the features about things that we can do, things that we can change. So let's first of all, we want a landscape version here. So up in our settings, we're able to control the format, whether it's landscape or portrait. We're able to control our page size. So let's make this A4. Let's change these to millimeters, like so. Oops. There we go. And save that. And so now we've got a slightly different format here. We can change our variables in here, and we can add an image. So I just want to double check the name of my field. So it was company, sorry, just name, and then company name. Company name. Okay. So we can create a variable in this section here, which is going to give us in these curly brackets. So we open up a new variable, go to Airtable, put the name of our field in, like so. It gives us like a safe version to use in our template. We just need to copy that, highlight the whole thing, paste it in. Company name was already mapped up, actually. I think that was the same, so we don't need to worry about that. We've got date formatters and also time, date, time, and number formatters, which we can come on to at some later point. But just know that you can transform your data in Documint into whichever format you would like to have. So, there are obviously preferred date styles and those sorts of things, depending where you are in the world, and we can accommodate all of those as part of the functionality. So let's do something down here. So let's just remove that. Let me just check the spacing on here. So this is an image format. When we click into the elements on the page, we can then see that there are properties. So this is an image. We can control the size and the height. We can add positioning. We can have borders and corners as well if we want to. So there's a lot of control for the design and style of your document. And also within sections, we've got things like padding, spacing, all of these kinds of functionalities that will allow you really to have very granular control of whichever document you're creating. So you could create pretty much anything you wanted to in our designer. There's a lot of imagination and creativity that we see in our user base with the documents they create. Obviously, my creativity is quite limited. It's not really my sweet spot, but from the editor's point of view, the designer's point of view, you can make whichever document as beautiful as you would like it to be. So let's hop back to our image. Let's get our image name, which was company logo. And we're going to bring in a dynamic image here. So this is quite nice to watch this happen. We can just click on here and add this as a variable. So it was the company logo, is that right? Company logo .0.l. So it follows the same kind of format. Add that image, double click. Let's put it in the middle, like so. We might need to adjust the sizing, but that should be good for now. And then let's maybe add another image. So we go to our elements here. We have text elements. We can add those images, force a page break if we want to. Adding additional sections. We just drag these into the canvas right here, like so, and we can add all the parts that we need to. So we don't need that for now. So let's just remove that. But let's grab our image. And this time we're going to do a static image. We'll use this signature right here. Okay, so we're starting to look good. We can check the preview and see if we need to adjust anything. We could probably put a bit more space at the top, I think. So let's grab one of our spacers. Let's put that up there. And we can adjust our settings here. Let's make it 100. Let's check our preview. Yeah, I think that's fine for now. So that's kind of as simple as it is to get started with your designs. Of course, you can design as complex as you would like, but these are just a few examples of the sorts of things that we can do to create our document either from a template or from scratch very quickly and simply using the drag and drop interface and adjusting those properties as you need to. So I'll cover a few more things before we hop into kind of the generation level. So over on the right hand side here, we've got obviously our variables that are coming through. So everywhere where you see the curly brackets is a variable. We've got our name, our company name, and then this is our logo and the URL for our logo. As you know, Airtable stores it in a certain format, so we need to follow that format. But this is telling us that this variable is in place. And then we have our layers function here, which allows us to more easily navigate through our template. So we can go to our section here and drill down further into the column level, or right down through the text sections. If the templates are very busy, that's quite a nice feature to have, because it can get a bit complex to find what you need. So then they go to our integrations here, and let me just minimize my screen here. Sorry, 1 second. All right, so what we want to do now is create a link that we're going to use in our Softr portal, that we can create this document dynamically in one click from our Softr portal. So here's our underlying Airtable data. And we need to add 2 things here. So first of all, we would add an attachment type. So let's just call this PDF, and it's an attachment type. I'm going to create that. And this is where the certificate is going to be saved back down to. And then we want to have our create cert link. This is going to be a formula field. And we'll just put a holder in here for now. We get our link. Okay, but now we've got everything we need in here. So to create our integration, it's actually very straightforward. We click on integrations. We've got a dedicated Softr space here to create your links for you. And we just need to follow these instructions. So Documint is going to create a formula field, to put in your formula field that will essentially be a unique URL, essentially like a webhook almost, that will allow you to click that button and get your document returned. So all we need to do is give Documint a bit of help. So we grab our full URL from the top here. We place that in here. You don't need to remove anything. Document will take the things that it needs. We need to tell it the attachment field name. So that was just PDF. And you can see it's already creating our formula here. So we can overwrite attachments, which means that every time we click the button, we get a new version. Or if we leave that off, we would have an iterated version over time. So a little bit of flexibility there. Because this is only one table, one level, we don't need to expand any records, but we will come onto that example next. So we can leave that blank. Then there are some additional options here about forcing your template to be active, which would remove the watermark. So you wouldn't have the document logo at the bottom. And we can also watch or ignore data changes, which can help to save some of your merges if you are generating a lot of documents that iterate over time. So we don't need to worry about those for now. So we'll just leave those as default and none. But then we just simply grab our formula field here and we go to our formula and we just paste the whole thing in. So, and save that. And that's given us, just expand that out here, a unique URL for every single record because it's using the record ID at the end. So every single record now has a unique link. So I think we have everything that we need to create our certificates. So let me just double check. I haven't overlooked anything. So we've got all our variables. That's good. One thing I would also show you is that you can dynamically name your document here. So maybe let's do that too. Call this Softr cert. And then in here, we could choose any of the variables that we have, or we could create a new one. But let's use the name. So, and then this will change for every time you generate a document. So let's save that. Oops. And spell this one out. And now we can hop over to Softr. So this is our demo portal here. So I won't be going into the design elements and the blocks of Softr. This is just to sort of show you how to connect the two together. But obviously, Softr users will know how powerful the design capabilities are already, and I'm sure you've got other speakers, Lizzie, on creating, giving your design aesthetic to your portals.
Yes, no worries. We emphasized that we weren't going to focus as much on that and more of the functionality. So no problem. As long as we give some context as to what this needs to be and that it's a list block, I think that's perfect.
Absolutely. Yeah. So so in this case, we've only got 2 pages. We had our home page, which was just listing out everybody from our single table. So we've got all of our people in here. And then our employee detail is where the action is going to happen. So we've got an initial part of it here, and we need to add a couple of things. So these are our list item fields. We're going to add a file. No, let's add a button type first. So we add a button. Let's style that a little bit. So we'll there's my list here. I am in the right place. Yeah. So the alignment, let's put it in the middle. I'm just going to grab a color here. Right. The background color. Let's make it blue. Go with the rest of it. Let's give it a label. Certificate. And here we can add our action. And we're just going to open external URL because Documint has created us an external URL that's in that formula field. So we're going to open that in a new tab. and we just need to find where that is. So it was create cert link was the field name. And then we'll add one more thing, which will be our file. And I don't think we need a label, but we do need to point that to our PDF. Of course, there's nothing in there at the moment, so it won't show. Let's give that publish. I've done everything. I think I have. We'll find out in a minute. So that's published. Let's go to our partner directory. So now we're live. We put everything together. Fingers crossed I've remembered to do everything. And let's create, let's go to Lizzie's record and create her certificate. So all we're going to do is click our button. When we click that, opens another window for us. And document will take a second. Oops, we're slightly off on our alignment there, but we can easily fix that back in our designer. So maybe if we have time, maybe we can do that. But as simple as that. And if we refresh this now, we've also got the PDF, and maybe we can put that in the middle if we want to adjust how all of that looks. So we've also got our PDF attached to it now. So you could download that now, or just keep it on that record in perpetuity. And of course, it's also saved back down to the Airtable record here. So that's a very quick example on the certificate side. Do we want to take a pause there, Lizzie, for any?
Yeah, I was going to say, so we do have a couple questions, but I think we will bring them on at the end because they seem quite specific to their use case.
Sure.
But I guess I always like to contextualize information. So can you just give us an example of some really common use cases that this workflow works for? Obviously, a certificate for like if you've graduated from some sort of, class, I guess, or if you've gone through employee documentation, anything else that might not necessarily be like a certificate, but that kind of works in the same context where you can pull up your profile and click download, or what's some common like use cases, would you say?
Well, I mean, it's really sort of up to the imagination of or the needs of whoever's building. But certificates for certificate, you could read perhaps something that needed to be approved, or what we have seen is almost like safety certification. So perhaps for some sort of testing. Appliance testing or safety testing or something like that. There's something that would need to be generated, maybe not quite so fancy as that, but just to be generated to say that this appliance is safe or something along those lines. We see those kinds of use cases a lot, kind of transactional style. So I think there's plenty of scope in there for those more simple examples, where you would just have a few simple fields. You could follow a similar idea for maybe a one-pager product brochure, for example. So that's also quite a common thing, is where you have kind of the hero shot of the product and then the various blurb that goes along with it, and perhaps pricing and things like that, where you have a whole load of linked relationships. It can all sit in one table. That's also quite a common use case.
Very cool. Awesome. Okay, thank you. That's helpful. So, sure. I think we can dive into the second use case, which is generating invoices with line items.
Right. Yeah, very good. Okay, so I'm going to start in Airtable this time because there's a little bit more going on, and we need to do some of the same things as we just did for our previous use case. So this is we have 4 tables here. But this is sort of very common example of a way you would structure an Airtable base to accommodate, an invoicing use case, or perhaps packing lists or something along those lines, transactional documents again, quotations, those sorts of things. So we have linked relationships here to a company, to line items, as we can see here, and then line items are linked to products. So These are all the line items that are going to appear in the various invoices. This is a list of all of the products that we sell. And this is a list of the companies that we work with, and anybody that's familiar with Airtable, which I'm guessing is most of your audience, will already understand the linked relationships between each of the tables and the power that that gives in Airtable. And it's just exactly that power that we're going to use to drive creating those line items. So in this example, we have some invoices that we created linked to a company, and then these are the line items that we're linked to. And we're going to loop through each individual linked relationship and get the pieces of information that we need, and then publish it all in a nice, neat invoice format. So there are a couple of things we do need to do because of the way Airtable works. Is you'll notice that we have these table IDs. So this is essentially this piece of information in the URL here for each of the individual tables, because we need to tell Documint, give it a little bit of help to tell it, okay, where is company name? Where's the detail that sits behind company name? And it sits in the company table, and this is the table ID for the company table. So it's a small technical requirement, but just full transparency. That's why we have this field in place. This is kind of cool. We can handle rich text as well. So you'll see that render as bullet points when we generate the invoice. So we can handle the markdown that comes with rich text. Obviously, we've got our roll-up fields to create our totals and everything else. And we need to add our attachment field. I'll call it PDF just for argument's sake. And create that. And then that's going to create our invoice. And that is a formula. For now. Okay. So we're set up on the Airtable side, but this is just to explain sort of why it's more complex. We have a couple of linked relationships in there. We need to make sure we're pointing it all in to the right locations. But we're going to loop through these line items at its base level. That's what we're going to achieve, and we're going to retrieve the information that sits there, that level down. So let's go back now to Documint, and I'll take you through some of the things that are slightly different from the example that we just showed for the certificate. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here. So we can do the same sorts of things. We could change the size if we want to. So we change that to A4. Let's call this invoice. We can make this dynamic. So this could be invoice. Actually, let me just copy this. I think it's .0. .name. Yeah. Okay. So that's going to give us a newly named invoice every time, depending on who the company is. This section here is where we bring in the repeat loop logic. So we have some various logic functions that we can do inside Documint. Today, we're going to use the repeat loop functionality. So we need to tell it the field that we want to look inside. In this case, it's invoice line items, and we can sort those as well if we need to. But there is also, conditional visibility. So you could have another section that only showed, let's say, if the invoice was greater than $1,000 or something like that. So there's plenty of flexibility in here to make your document as sort of as dynamic as you need to be. We have another variable image field in here, but this is bringing the image in from a linked relationship down. So you can tell from the way our variables are structured here. We're going through line items, then we're going to product image, and then product image URL. So you can see we can build that sort of tree of relationships, regardless of how complex our Airtable is. We're doing some formatting here on numbers. So we want to have this as a dollar in a certain format, and we can accommodate virtually any format that you would want to, depending where you are in the world. Some people have the the period first and then the comma later, or a completely different style of number. So we can accommodate all of those too. And then this MD signifier here is for Markdown. So this is what's going to help us render the information correctly over the rich text field. So I think I've covered the majority of those things. One final thing I'll just show you is on this section that we're looping through. Document will allow us to expand or contract the document depending on how many line items there are in your Airtable. And how we do that is by using this function in the layout where we want to avoid a page break inside, and we can set that to yes. So if we had 20 line items, then it would roll over into a new page without breaking in a strange way at the bottom of the page. So that's a really powerful feature that is actually quite difficult to do with some of the document creation services. So we're pretty proud of this functionality, and it will allow you to create incredibly complicated documents with looping functionality direct from your Airtable data. So I think we're pretty much set. We just need to set up our integration. So I'm just going to minimize this one back down to find our information we need. So we need to grab our URL, go to our integrations, to our Softr, paste our table URL in here. The field name was PDF. We're going to overwrite, and we do have linked records in here, as you can see. So we count the tables that we have. So we've got 3 tables in here. So let's expand 3 levels. But we can keep these default, and we change that to none. And we've got our formula. So in less than a minute there, we've created our integration that we can use in our Softr portal, and we're ready to go. So let me just make sure I've covered everything in here. I think I did. So let's expand this out. And let's go to our different application here. So this is sort of like a finance hub. We're going to have a list of all of our customers, like so. And then when we click on that customer, we're going to see the invoices that we have for them. So we're going to add 2 things in here in the same way that we did before. We're going to add our, this time we'll add our file first. Maybe let's just call that invoice. And that's going to be a PDF. And we can style that. Label on the left, that's fine. I think that one's fine. And then we'll add our button field. And we get our button already. And we're going to call that invoice. We'll add our action, open URL, open a new tab. What did I call this? Create. Guess. There we go. Okay. Maybe let's just shrink that down a touch. There we go, so it fits on the page. All right, and I think we should be set. Hopefully I haven't forgotten anything. Publish that.
Moment of truth.
It really is. I get quite anxious at this point in the demonstration. Okay, so here's our Softr app. We're going to click on customers. Here are all of our customers that we work with. We're obviously a very shady organization that work with these types of people. But let's go to Spectre because we know we've got a couple of invoices here. So it's just going to show us the 2 invoices we have. We can get a snapshot of what's on the invoice. Obviously, we could do more detail in here. And for those of you more experienced users, or wanting to learn more, we could then click into this and go a level deeper, but this is just to sort of illustrate. So let's give it a whirl. Let's click on our button. And hopefully, after a few moments to think about it.
Dun, dun, dun,
Bingo. So there we have our line items pulling through our images and all of our correctly rendered markdown text here with our information, and all of our amounts are all added up and formatted how we want them. And of course, don't forget, if we refresh, we've got our invoice in here that's now linked to our record just here. So hopefully that was helpful, that there was some cool stuff in there to demonstrate. But in a nutshell, that is how you create your template in Document and integrate it with your Softr app to create your documents in literally one click.
Love it. And to take it a step further within Softr, you can then, say like you want this to be a portal where your clients can log in, but then
100%.
set conditions to where they can only see their specific invoices for their client listing.
Absolutely.
That's kind of the whole loop, right? So really cool. Thank you for walking us through that. Both of those use cases seem like they would be super relevant. I love the idea of consolidating if you have a small business and you are using lots of different SaaS applications for all these different things within functions within your business. A lot of the times you can kind of consolidate them all into Softr and then use a couple integrations, and invoicing is a great one for that. I know I used to spend a lot of money every month just on my invoicing software. So, and really cool that you can do more than just invoicing with it. Super.
Yeah. It's really limitless, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, this was super helpful. I do want to bring up, let's take a look at our question. So Samuel, let's see if Samuel is still here. Yeah, okay, perfect. Well, the first question that we can answer before we get into more of a specific question is, can Document generate an editable document like a Word file instead of a PDF, or is it all PDF?
Currently only PDF. We are working on, obviously, that for down the line. So we do have quite an extensive roadmap coming down the line. So only PDF currently, but editable will be coming in the future.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so Samuel said, okay, well, this one says, is it possible to add a table where each line is a record, hopefully where it would always be the right size and not empty lines?
Oh yeah, well, I think hopefully what I illustrated was just that.
Yeah, I think that was maybe before. I think this question came in before you demonstrated it, but we can just kind of reiterate it, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I mean, this is what's happened here. So we created this one section and we told that section to loop if it finds anything to loop through. And essentially, obviously this is the format I've chosen, but you could choose to format this section however you wanted to, and effectively create a grid if that was your preferred aesthetic. But yeah, it would loop through as many times as it needed to, and there wouldn't be any empty lines. And it would also expand the document for as many line items you had. So if I had 20 in here, we'd have a couple of pages worth, and it would all be nicely formatted on both sides.
Perfect. Okay, cool. And then the last question Samuel has is, I might actually ask you, Samuel, if you're comfortable coming up and talking about your use case, because it sounds quite specific. If you're not comfortable coming up, that's totally okay. Maybe this is better for us to just follow up with Matt afterwards, but he said, I tried to use Document to create a list of participants.
Yep.
I have not been able to generate the right result yet, which is why I'm here today.
Okay.
So curious, let's see, let me check the chat. Sure, I can. Okay, why don't we bring Samuel up and then you can talk through your challenge, and then Matt will be able to help walk through it. So I'm going to send you to what's called the wing, and I just invited you, so you should receive an invite. Hi, Matthew. Let me know if you saw it come through.
I hope we can help on with the time that we have. I'm not 100%
Yeah,
sure
I
we've done that, but
yeah.
if
Okay,
we
we're
can't, then I'm happy to take it offline and work with Samuel directly.
here we
Is
go.
it,
Okay.
is it working? Yeah,
Yep.
I'm
Yeah, we can
here.
hear you. Hi, Sam.
Okay. Hello. Yeah, so I've tried to use it a little bit. Basically, we're not a business, we're a nonprofit. We're mostly trying to make, let's say, lists for our staff to download the list of participants for events and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
One issue I've had, and it's just, well, I mean, I think I've understood from your basically the link files don't really work, right? They don't show up correctly. They show up as a string of letters and numbers instead of what it's supposed to say. And I should maybe you did something with the table ID
The
or
table
something.
ID, yes.
I didn't catch that completely. So if you could go through that again a bit, like in a minute, that would be good. Otherwise, my other question, and it's maybe it's not a deal breaker if it doesn't work, but is there a way to generate a like your document where, let's say, like, okay, so the lines are people, are records,
Mhm.
and the columns could be days of the week, dates, maybe even. That would be, let's say, like for the next 2 weeks from the moment that it's generated. Is that possible?
Perhaps you could share with me like an example output. I'm
Yeah.
not sure I'm quite
So
visualizing that as
I'm
you
making a
intend.
list of participants. Okay, so I want my team to be able to take attendance, and I want them
Okay.
to check on the document, which will be printed, which is why we need Documint to do it.
Right.
I would like them to say, like, okay, so on the 1st of November, Matthew was in attendance, check.
Mhm.
And I would like, let's say, to generate the next 2 weeks of dates.
Okay. I'm not sure that's quite a document question, and it might be more of an Airtable question. The short answer is Documint can output whatever format you would like, but it's working on dynamic data, right? So it needs to take that data from somewhere. Generally speaking, there can be static data, of course, but generally speaking, as long as we can pull that information from somewhere, you can render it in Documint. So I think the short answer is going to be yes, but exactly on the structure of your Airtable, that might be where the question lies.
Okay, I need to think it maybe in a different direction. Okay, all right, I'll think about that.
Sure.
So I guess the only last thing is that table ID thing. So if you could just like look at it.
Yeah, no worries.
Help me.
Yeah, this does trip people up sometimes because it's the way Airtable sends information about linked records, and as everyone knows, these are linked records. It sends it as a record ID. Okay, so what we're doing with the table ID is we're saying the invoice line items are a linked relationship and they live in this other table. So if we go to invoice line items, this is the table ID. It always follows this structure in the URL. So we take that table ID and we call our field invoice line items table ID. This is very important, the way this is structured. It must be the name of the field plus table underscore capital I small d, and then you paste that in there. Actually, just use a formula field because it will repeat then, like so, inside quotes. And once you've added that, then Documint will know, okay, I come across line items, I now need to go and look in this table and I'll get everything that I need. So if you're only getting record IDs as responses, you're likely missing your table. Well, you are. You're 100% missing your table ID. Isn't quite correct. So the name of the field where the linked item is, and then table ID, and you will be good to go.
Okay, thank you. And so just to make sure also, so I think that might also have to do with when you integrated Documint, you said you did something with expand linked records to add the other table. So if you had not done that step, I guess that wouldn't work, right?
Yeah, I mean, it depends how far you're expanding down. So in this case, we're going a couple of levels deep, but I'll just show you in here really quick. Yeah, so We expand one level by default if there is a linked record. But if you want to go further than that, then yes, you would probably need to put, 1 or 2 levels in here, depending on how many relationships you had. But if you need any more information on this, please feel free to reach out, and happy to put something together for you. And we do have other videos and documentation that explain the expanding process a little bit more in depth. So welcome to give those a try as well if you still need further assistance.
Okay, thank you very much.
Of course, thanks for your question. Nice to meet you.
Awesome. Okay, thank you, Samuel, for being brave and coming on stage. I don't think we have any questions. Oh, wait, maybe we do. Hold on. Oh, from Justin. Okay, he said, I'm going to do this last question. We are a little bit over on time, but these are really great questions. If you have time, Matt, do you have a couple of?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm here for you.
It says, what if I'm interested in creating documents which might need more aesthetic, such as a report template or even a resume template? Will I be able to design pixel perfect templates?
100%. Yes. Yeah, no problem. I mean, obviously, my design capability is very limited, so I wasn't able to showcase a lot of creativity today, more the functionality. But yeah, we have some of the most amazing templates that some of our users create using our designer. So yeah, there are, of course, as with any software, there are some things that are more difficult to do than others. But yes, you could create some incredible looking documents as you would wish to. There's really no limit on the design capability.
Okay, cool. And do you have, could it be done by CSS? Ooh, good question.
Not at the moment. It has to be done through the designer, but we are working on the ability to upload pre-existing documents like a Word document or something. So that will be coming in down the road in the future, just to make things a little bit faster and easier. CSS, I think, will probably come at some stage, but we're not quite there on that as yet, because the way the designer works is very different from some of the other interfaces that are a bit more like a word processor, whereas we have this sort of drag and drop style, more like a softer builder experience. So it's a bit easier to get started, and does allow you to create those templates, but at the moment we don't have sort of ninja level CSS capability.
Okay, that's helpful. So to confirm, as of right now, there's not the capability to upload. Let's say like I design something in Canva and then I want to upload it to Document, and then I can map all the fields. That is what's coming, not available right now, but that's coming. And then potentially CSS after that.
Right.
That's good to know. And then in terms of, did you mention that there are templates or there are not templates?
There's a small number of templates at the moment to get you started. We don't have, in all honesty, we don't get huge demand for more templates in our gallery, simply because most people come with an idea of the kind of document they want already, or they already have a document that they want to recreate. So it's not that people are really sort of starting from scratch with the document itself. People do use the invoice template a lot, just because it's an invoice and it's it doesn't need that much kind of aesthetic work. But the majority of what gets built is very bespoke and is individual to each user. So we are building out the template gallery more and more, but actually we found that most users already have quite a specific idea of what they're looking for.
Cool. Okay, that's super helpful. I think we've answered all the questions. This was really clear and straightforward. Thank you so much for walking us through these 2 case studies.
Of course.
Use cases. Again, guys that are in attendance right now, I will be emailing you tomorrow with the recording. We'll also have a little, I can turn my tiny little head. I think focus. I'm not sure. This is a new. Okay, here we are. And sorry, we can't do a background with this new software, but so we will send the recording tomorrow, along with a feedback form for our event, and then also we will be providing for new people to Softr or Document just a discount code to get started if either of these platforms are new to you. So thank you guys all for coming. Matt, thank you so much for taking the time to walk us through this integration. Super interesting, very useful, I feel like, and has a lot of different capabilities and use cases. So you guys can find Matt. Well, for our insiders, you can find him in Slack. And then Matt, where can we find you otherwise? On the Documint website? You're the one that responds to customer service, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, if you're on a European time zone, you'll likely get me. If you're sort of stateside, then you'll get the founder Josh, or one of the other team. But yeah. I mean, please feel free to reach out via the website, or if you're in the Softr Slack channel, you can find me in there as well, or LinkedIn, whatever. I'm hard to miss.
Perfect. Sounds great. All right. Thank you all. Talk to you soon, and have a great rest of your week.
Thanks so much. Take care. Thanks for everyone for joining.
Bye.
Bye-bye.